Okay, so you've unlocked the press to handstand. Now it could be a straddle press, a tuck press, a froggy press, a planchy press, a bent arm press, a straight arm press. There's very few people that get to that level where they can actually just float the toes off the floor and go all the way up to handstand with some sort of control. But what comes next? You have quite a few different options, and that's what I'm going to go through today. I'm going to show you how to take the press that you already have and use it as a tool to achieve your next goal. Now, it could be as simple as just tidying up that press even more. And the best way to tidy it up is probably one of the ways that you learn how to get it is using the eccentric. So you go up however you can. So if it looks a bit ugly and you go up, that's fine. But now when you come down, see if you can come down with more finesse, trying to control the movement way more and show your body what you want to have it look like on the way up. You're going to have much more strength, much more control on that eccentric. You can keep practicing those concentrics to get up in the first place, but then use the eccentric to really fine tune everything. Now, don't forget to keep working on your flexibility so things become easier from a cleaner point of view, making it look prettier, but also from an efficiency point of view. Because when you first got your press, it might be a little bit more muscled, a little bit more up and down. We're using planche, forwards and back with those shoulders. So increasing that flexibility range is just going to allow you to come up cleaner and use a lot less energy. You could actually be the opposite of that. So you might already have a super clean press, but it means that everything has to be in the perfect sweet spot for you actually to achieve the liftoff and the clean press to handstand. So what do I mean by that? So at the moment, your press relies on a perfect position where you're very tall with the hip and you come around the outside and everything's perfectly stacked. And that's the only way you can get a lift off. So for you, we need to increase the room for error, the ability to flat-footed press to handstand on a bad day when you don't have the mobility to get up. When you're sore in the legs or you just don't have that range to get up, you might need to use a little bit more strength. So you just need to start conditioning that strength a little bit more. So you could have a super clean press on the way up, but now when I come down, I'm going to actually make it a little bit more ugly, take the shoulders forwards a little bit more, take the feet back a little bit, maybe even bend the arms, bend the legs a little bit. Another option is to add repetitions. So you can do one repetition, but what you'll often find is you can get up on that first rep, but then when you come back down again, you transfer too much weight back into the feet, and then on that second rep, you just can't get off the floor. So how do we unlock that second, that third, that fourth repetition? And probably the easiest way to do that is to do it the same way as you learned the initial press handstand. Use a little bit of assistance for that second repetition. That could be eccentrics. So I'll do a press handstand, I'll come back down, and now I do a jump to get back up because I can't press, but I can do a slow eccentric for that second rep. We could do partial range, so like 1.5 reps. So I do that first repetition, and then I don't come down all the way, maybe 80%, and then come back up. And I just slowly try and close that gap. There I would do one repetition, the 80%, and then a real slow eccentric. Another option would be to start to work towards a deficit. So a deficit could be very tiny. Basically, I'm just going to lift the hands up a little bit, meaning my feet and my hips drop down a touch. So exactly the same. Press handstand, but now the hands are raised. And if that feels okay, I can go towards a bigger deficit. And you can just keep going higher and higher with that. And what you'll start to notice is the hip is dropping. If we look at that hip position when I start, see now how the hip is here, but when I press handstand here, the height is very different relevant to the hands. So you're progressively working towards a planche type press, meaning the hips coming down more level with the shoulders and the shoulders have to come forwards. So look, if I make it really planchy, shoulders forwards, feet around the outside. So if you're also working on planche, then you can combine them together and work on planche presses. But the other option is to go towards a shoulder press. And if we look at the hip height I'm getting here, so where that hip is relative to the shoulder and the hands, and then I look at the hip height for a shoulder press, see it's much lower at the moment, but I get to that point. So there's the hip around the same height, and then I can press from there because I'm good at the deficit handstand press. So that shoulder press has a different pathway for the legs. We start in that straddle L sit, and then we come round the back, up and through the standard press handstand, the last half of it. But we could also go a different pathway with the legs and go for like a pike press or a tuck press. So our main ones are the straddle press that I've been showing all along, the shoulder press we just done, the pike press would be straight legs, seen as a harder variation because the feet have to go back so far to either have to use a lot of strength and flexibility or. And then we have the tuck press, which is very similar. The start position of the pike press with legs closer together, but now I bend the knees and go up, passing through a tuck position. Excuse the old man knees. And same thing, I could work on those with the eccentrics first, or the partial range where we start with our feet up on something. Now my one-arm handstand is a little bit rusty, but if you are working towards one-arm handstands or you already have a one-arm handstand, you could combine the two together and work on a press one-arm handstand. Now I'm going to need to cheat it up a little bit. I'm going to use a block, which means I can muscle the press a little bit more if you call it a press. The one arm's a bit confusing on what is a press and what isn't, but you can just work towards your versions of the press handstand. You'll see circus performers and high-level hand balancers press up from this straddle L-sit. It's basically a one-arm shoulder press, which is very impressive, pardon the pun. But all I have is this dodgy entry like this sort of pressy kicky. Nearly. No. Okay, third try, that's it. I'm going to do. Okay, you get the idea. But if you are working towards one arm or have one, that's a great fun skill to work towards. So hopefully that's opened your eyes up into options once you get the press handstand. If you're still working towards your first press handstand, check out this video. And if you're interested in online coaching or my app, check out my website, www.paultwyman.com.au.